mic.
Okay, it's 7:30. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Can everybody please stand? We're going to do the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to take a moment of silence to remember the service and sacrifice of the armed service members who protect our nation and the first responders who protect our neighborhoods. And I'd also like to ask for a moment of silence. Many of you know Vice President Sackett's father, Daniel, died on the 19th at the age of 74. Mr. Sackett was a 47-year resident of Rockaway Township, and him and his wife, Lois, were married for 52 years. They raised all four of their children here. He was a very handy man. He was actually involved in a team that helped create GPS and build the lunar module. He was a scout leader, very involved in his children's lives with coaching. I think the apple didn't fall far from the tree with Mr. Sackett. I think he was very proud of him and all that he's accomplished in his lifetime. He's survived by his four children. As I mentioned, his wife Lois, his mother, 8 of his 9 siblings are still alive, and 6 grandchildren. So please keep their family in your prayers too. So we're going to take a moment of silence. Okay, clerk, take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly?
Here.
Councilmember Quinn?
Here.
Councilmember Freelander?
Here.
Councilmember Crick?
Here.
Councilmember Salber?
Here.
Councilmember Brooks?
Here.
Councilmember Noon?
Here.
Vice President Sackett?
Here.
President Jackson?
Here. This meeting was advertised in the Daily Record and the Star Ledger, the official newspapers for the Township of Rockaway, on January 11, 2020. Notice was posted on the official bulletin boards of Rockaway Township. Before we do the first presentation, I'd just like to start off making a statement. I didn't get to really say anything at the reorganization meeting, so, you know, I've been on the council a little over a year, and frankly, you know, some of the conduct on the council hasn't been acceptable in my opinion. I think, you know, I like to build on what Mr. Sackett started when he took over as council president and bring some decorum and class and respect to the public, to the administration, to other council members back to these meetings. These are, you know, we have people that watch online. These are business meetings. We're supposed to be conducting business, not chastising people, not interrogating people, conducting business and being professional and being respectful of other people. And I'd like to make sure we start doing that going forward. So with that said, our first presentation is going to be, Captain Shear, are you doing it? Yes. Okay, it's going to be doing a presentation on the Rave Alert Rockaway Township powered by Smart 911.
This way so you can see the presentation.
Yeah, feel free to move if you guys want to.
If you want to sit in the audience.
It's okay. No, you're good.
It's going to be 2 parts. It's going to be a little bit on the poster board here as well as video.
Okay.
And
Yeah, go ahead. I actually signed up for it. Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, Council President Jackson, Vice President Sackett, and council members, I would like to introduce this evening the Alert Rockaway Township, which is also powered by Smart 911. I have a very short video presentation of what Smart 911 is
An
and what it
estimated
offers.
240 million calls are made to 911 in the U.S. each year. You may never have to call 911, but if you do, you'll want to make sure that you downloaded the Smart 911 app. Smart 911 securely shares vital information about your household with emergency responders. If you ever call 911, call takers will immediately see your address, medical conditions, details about your home and pets, and anything else that allows them to send help faster. Plus, Smart 911 keeps you up to date on any nearby emergencies that may impact you or your community. Download the Smart 911 app to instantly share life-saving information. It can make all the difference when it comes to keeping you and your family safe.
I'm going to give you a short presentation also. What we have in Rockaway Township currently is 3 different products in one. Those in our community that have been used to the Nixle notification alert system. This is now the RAVE Rockaway Township alert, along with a facilities manager and that Smart 911. So we'll just play a little bit to give you a little bit of the ability of the facilities manager.
Emergencies occurring on school campuses, healthcare facilities, and other commercial properties present first responders with unique challenges, which can impact their ability to provide assistance. These facilities can be difficult to access. They may be locked or have gates. They can be confusing to navigate once accessed, and often the 911 caller is not very familiar with the facility layout. With Ray facility owners and managers can take an active role in protecting employees, students, guests, and property by providing information about their facility that they want 911 and first responders to know. At 911, Ray Facility displays all of this information registered within a facility profile, such as floor plans, emergency contacts, access to AEDs, and more. A profile displays automatically when someone calls 911 from a landline registered phone on the account, or when 911 answers a call from a cell phone, where the cell phone carrier believes the caller is within the proximity of that facility location. 911 or first responders can also search for a facility profile by name or address. Searching for a facility profile does not require a 911 call. For example, the 911 call taker or dispatcher can search for a profile during an incident initiated by a first responder at a location that has a profile, such as a business chat, fire emergency, or the need to lock down buildings in the area due to a nearby police event. To create a RAVE facility profile at no cost for your business location or locations, start by visiting www.ravefacility.com.
All right, so what does that mean? Right here you see Alert Rockaway Township powered by Smart 911. Smart 911 is available to anybody nationwide. You have the ability, so in order to get Smart 911, anybody that's interested in Smart 911 can download the app right onto their phone and fill out information. They have the ability to also follow the link if you happen to be a Nixle subscriber. I've been sending some of those. I sent the link for that, so you'll be able to do that via Nixle. All right, our Nixle will no longer be available to us by the end of March. All right, we will be on 100% the new platform at that time. Also, what you have the ability to do is register directly from our website. Right, so anybody can go right onto the website, onto the front page. You'll see an emergency notification. Sign up for emergency notifications. If you were to click that, that brings you to the second step, which will then show you Rave Alert Rockaway Township Smart 911 registration. If you click that link, that brings you up to the Smart 911 screen where you can start entering information. The nice part about this system, you can put as much information or as little information into that system as you would like. It's three systems in one. So you saw the Smart 911 links all of our, not just our residents, it links our work population. It also links travelers going through. If they have a profile in the Smart 911 system, it gives them the ability, if they have a 911, they dial 911, your location, through your device, it will populate any call center, any Smart 911 call center across the United States. So in Rockaway Township, obviously for our residents, they can do that. Any of the travelers just passing through Rockaway Township or those who work in Rockaway Township. And then the facilities management, once they put in their facilities, that gives also, if you happen to be with your phone in close proximity to one of those facilities that are built into the system, we might have all of that information for that facility. So for example, if you happen to be at a mall, if you happen to be at some of the other businesses and they load a profile in there, you don't even have to tell them where you were because they might have floor plans loaded right into that facility, which locates you in the facility for us. Right? They can provide us as first responders response information that will hopefully get us to your location sooner. All right, so what does that mean when you dial 911? Dialing 911 from a Smart 911 phone brings you to the Smart 911 call center. At that time, it's whatever information you provided to the 911 call center and the first responders. As little or as much information as you choose to provide. What that will bring up for the 911 call center, that will bring up the profile information that you've put there. It brings up the location, and it also brings up the ability for a dispatcher, so for example, for a domestic violence incident or an intruder incident where you're unable to speak and they get a dead line, they can actually initiate a text with that caller, right? Or a 911 hang up, they can also initiate a text on callback. Right? So again, that's the full 911 suite from Rave, and we encourage anybody that's interested, please sign up and use that. It has the ability for those, and I have a lot of information on the back table, you're welcome to. Vulnerable populations, things in that personal profile, so for example, somebody has dementia and you have them included as a household member with a picture. If that's the information you provide, that cuts a lot of the time for the first responders to go and get that information if that's something you want to provide. All right, so again.
Pets also.
Correct, and pets. So anybody, so this is for emergency disasters as well as any other fire, telling first responders and the fire department if we know how many are in the house and how many they're looking for, or pets, to locate pets in a disaster or any other emergency where that sometimes might not be the first thing on your mind.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
You said a smartphone, but if you put the app on an iPod, let's say, you have a flip phone, you link that cell phone number, would that still pick up as the flip phone?
The flip phones, that I would, with a full flip phone technology is, I would have to see if they have that ability on a flip phone.
It would pick up the number.
It picks up
It
numbers.
would pick up the
Numbers
number.
register
Right,
as far as
that
the
number's
pinpoint
registered on the
map.
app.
Correct,
Okay, so they'll
Correct.
pick up that.
correct.
But if you don't have texting, you
Right,
obviously
if you don't have
can't text
location
you.
and things on
Alright,
your
no,
phone.
it has all that, it's
Yeah.
just
Right.
not the smartphone.
Yep.
The phone number is the flip phone,
Yep.
that's registered on an iPhone.
Currently, right now, yes, they're through the Nixle. All right, so Nixle messages will be going out as, one has already gone out with a link, and they will go out as we approach the March separation from that Nixle.
Facebook, the link is there too.
Yeah,
Facebook, it went out, so when the Nixle went out on Facebook.
And Kathy, you're gonna be offering, days that we're gonna have, where we're gonna have the public come in if they have any, need any help, right?
Yes, correct. This Thursday, I will be here 9 to 12 in this room for anybody that needs assistance. I will also be back here on Saturday, 9 to 12, to again offer assistance to anybody that might need assistance.
The access to sign up, as far as the information that you choose to put down on there, is there any concern, I mean, I know it's something that's new, but secure, as far as that there's a lot of horrible information that's on there that one would see on, some types of a link or a site, and is any of that information open to the public, I mean, to where some other, legislation may allow people to have access to that information?
As far as the public can certainly go to any of the websites for either Rave, Safety Mobile, or Smart 911. They have all of their policies listed there in terms of their abilities and the precautions that they take to safeguard our information.
And then the last thing would be, since we were talking before, Mr. Lardy had mentioned about flip phone, accessibility and whatnot with text. Is there an email that could go to somebody's computer?
Yes.
If they don't have text capability or have a smartphone?
Yeah, what you'll find out when you go into that registration page that I just had displayed, the questions you'll be asked is whether you want, you can be notified via text, voice, or email, and it's up to you and you can also change that at any time, because once you build your own profile, it's your profile, it's built from your side, and you can go in and access that information and change.
you got multiple emails and phone numbers, yeah.
And actually, you have to update it.
Correct. And then there will be a time where Smart 911 also wants to make sure that that information is current. So what they will do approximately every 6 months is send something out to the public to say, hey, is this still your number? Is it still valid? Because they obviously don't want to attach anything to anybody else's number.
Should there be also a connection to businesses directly rather than residents?
The businesses, if you're referring to it, is Rave Facility, and that component, anybody that would like to get into Rave Facility and put their corporate or company information in there, they can provide locations. So what happens if you go into that facility manager, you decide that this is your company, you can actually define the borders of where that is, and that's what helps Smart 911 personal profiles. If you go to a particular location and they define that as this is our property, that information will also be provided to the 911 dispatch.
Do you have a question?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
What about the older people that don't have cell phones are they still gonna be able to call 911?
Absolutely.
And they can call your house phone.
Your landline.
Their
Landlines are absolutely still available.
Yep.
Okay, because my mother is 81 and she don't even know how to use a regular phone.
You can absolutely still.
You can register for
Get
them.
them up with the crane.
Oh my God. She don't even know how to.
This is just an enhancement. Everything that you had originally, before all these Smart 911, before all these enhancements were out, you pick up the phone, you dial 911,
No.
you're gonna have the police, they're gonna respond. All of these are enhancements to the current system. Last year, I approached the police department and I had a discussion with them and said, what can we do to, make our security better? I had been approached by a few residents who had some older folks, some younger folks, some people in their homes with intellectual, medical issues, and it's been an ongoing problem throughout the nation where police show up and they don't have enough information on a child who may have autism, on an adult, an older person who may be suffering from dementia or Alzheimer. So this was an enhancement, and this one good thing that I like about this system when we were going through it was that it gives the citizen, it gives the person who inputs the information control over what they want to put into the system, as much or as little. You can put your photos in there, vehicles, pets, your blood type. You can put as much or as little information as you want, but the point here is that it's controlled by the user. It's not controlled by the town. We're not inputting the information. You control the information. You put it in. If at some point you want to edit or take certain things out because you don't feel comfortable, you can do that. It's up to you to control what's in there.
Another question. Is there a way that if she does 911, all her information will get up to her? If she doesn't have a smartphone, but she doesn't live with anybody?
No, not unless she actually has a smartphone or a computer and she's in the system. No different than Nixle. If you didn't have a smartphone or a computer, you're not going to be able to put information in there. You get Nixle alerts.
Well,
You
let
would
me
need to
ask you
sign
a
up.
question a different way. Couldn't somebody sign up with her information, put her information in their account with her phone number, her landline, so that if
Yes.
she called from the landline, her information would pull up?
Yes.
So do you have somebody that can enter her information for her? Yep.
Yeah, again, that's some validity,
Yeah.
that's in
Yeah.
the back.
Yep.
And when you actually go into that, page for registration, it will ask if somebody helped preparing this
Right.
information.
Right. And when are you going to be here again to answer?
I will be here, Thursday morning from 9 a.m. to 12, and I will also be here again on Saturday, from 9 a.m.
Okay.
9 a.m. to 12. So if anybody, would like to stop by and needs more information or needs help, with registration, I'll be here.
Downstairs in
Thank
the PD or
I
upstairs?
will be right here, yes.
Thank you again. Next, item 7, approval of the January 7th, 2020 reorganization meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, take the roll.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Salber?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes. Motion carries, 9 yeses. Next, number 8, ordinances to adopt. First, we have O-20-01, an ordinance of the Township of Rockaway in the County of Morris, New Jersey, providing for various capital improvements for the Township of Rockaway and appropriating $2,600,546, therefore, and providing for the issuance of $1,803,771 in general improvement bonds or notes of the Township of Rockaway to finance the same. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any public discussion? Any council discussion?
I do, Council President.
Yep.
I'd wait my time if anybody else wants to go before me.
If I may, Council President? So,
Absolutely.
question for the administration. I see that we're receiving back grants of $604,275, which is wonderful. Just wondering, do we see additional opportunities going forward for additional grants, and do you have the manpower and the necessary tools to go after any additional grants or additional funds?
We're always looking for grants, our staff is, and I know the council has asked us to look into a grant writer. And Chrissy, Ms. Clipperton, and Mr. Dyer have been looking into that. We have interviews coming up with a couple of companies, and we have, put in something in the budget to help that for next year that hopefully will get approved when our budget gets approved.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Kelly?
On G, on Parks and Recreation, this was something that was somewhat controversial that we were going back and forth for the basketball court to have.
Mr. Kelly, can you put your mic on, please? Thank you.
And when we were having these discussions, I had presented to this council, the older board, of some of the comparisons and some of the conditions of other basketball courts within our proximity of our town. But one of them being Randolph, and Randolph had put a phenomenal improvement in their location off of Millbrook Avenue, and it was only just under $110,000 for what they did. And when we were talking, I thought there was going to be somewhat concessions or negotiations, and especially with this lights and scoreboard, which was a large amount of money, and who would maintain the scoreboard. There's really no games that are played. Everything is indoors through the scheduling basketball season in the winter. I would ask that maybe we reduce this amount of the $250,000, and then hear me out on the reduction. If we reduce the $250 down to $150, taking away $100,000, and if you recall, and some of the council members said, well, just because we have this amount doesn't mean we're going to spend it. I disagree with not having a ceiling on something, but why don't we move that money, that $100,000 that we can take out of the basketball court and still have $150, and it's already proven of what it could cost to make these improvements from a neighboring municipality in Randolph, and then we could increase the fire department's budget from 145 to 245. I think the importance of life-saving apparatuses are just as important, if not more, than the basketball court, and it would be somewhat of an equalization of giving up a little bit to give something else at some place that needs it. We seem to be taking a lot out of the fire department throughout its years, and I think they do a phenomenal job. They need money for training. We seem to delay the need for some of these equipment that they need over a course of period of time. This could possibly reduce that. And even at our installment, the dinner that we had in the inspection, it was constantly complimented of the efforts that our fire department does for the residents and the businesses within our township, and the mutual aid that we provide as well. Maybe we can work some numbers and do that. So we would still, I believe, from my calculations and looking at it and doing my own analysis, $150,000 would go a phenomenal way in the basketball court, especially if we do some of the work in-house, which we can do, and we apply some of that savings over to the fire department. We would still have the same number that we've agreed on tonight. Does anybody have any comments or any idea or thought of that? Remember, it's the fire department.
Have we ever done a study to take a look at what they did at the Millbrook location compared to ours? I mean, are we talking apples to apples?
Mr. Jackson thought that there wasn't apples to apples because of the amount of excavation that was there. However, Randolph subbed out everything through the contractor out of South Jersey. In this case, the small excavation that we'd be doing of removing the material in a small area of the basketball court, because we can't achieve 3 full courts. We're only going to be able to achieve 2 full courts at 84 feet in length. So basically, we're lengthening the two courts by about 20 feet and excavating into the embankment there and doing a wall. Any of the excavation that's there, plus we have a John Deere 50G excavator with a dozer blade and a thumb, that's easy. I mean, realistically, to do all that, the demo itself and removing the material and having the other guys come in there, that's probably a 4 to 6 day job. And I think that we can do that in-house. We've already proven that, and our guys do a lot of other improvements throughout the township. And construction, that's a large chunk of change that we can save in-house, and that we need to look at and see. So it's been on the table there, not just it came up recently, but this has been going on a little less than a year, and we're down here at the last wire. I just think that we're not being fiscally responsible if we go and spend $250,000 when neighboring municipalities have spent far less. And, anybody can go and look and see. I don't know if we can actually table this to the next meeting to have that opportunity for some of the members to review that and still be in compliance to vote on this for the adoption of that. But I still think the moving of monies around, since we're not going to reduce the amount in the capital bond ordinance here of the 2.6, even though we reduced it from the 2.7 originally, and we didn't put anything on referendum for the people to decide how much money to spend on this basketball court. We had that opportunity and we failed to do so by the 16th of last year in August. I think that we need to show that we're going to be prudent in trying to save money for the taxpayers. This is one avenue I think we can do it.
Any other discussion? Yep.
Okay. We're just voting on the total amount. Okay? All these amounts are estimates. So if you come to that line item, and it costs $145,000, you're still bonding for that total amount you can move it at that time to anything else in the project.
Does it have to stay within its project? In other words, Mrs. Palmieri?
She's not here.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Seeger then? If we're doing something on the line for Park and Rec, and we have that money there, can we take later in the year, can we take 100 out of that and then move it over into another area, or is it strictly solely for that one area?
I don't want to.
Because we had this conversation before.
I know that, and we have taken other, and we would have to do another ordinance to switch the money. But yeah, you can do it later.
Exactly.
Or we can do it now, too.
Any other discussion?
We have met with the department heads. This budget and these items were formulated on, we're not robbing from Peter to pay Paul. We have sat down with the departments and said, what do you need? And these are the things that they've asked for.
Mr. Mayor, when you do say that, though, when we were having the budget that was presented and what was requested by the departments versus what they received, I believe the fire department was cut $340,000.
Are you talking about regular budget, or are you talking about capital?
Well, we're talking about capital.
Okay.
It's here, but a part of that, there was a reduction that we had as far as their,
And that was agreed upon by the department and us during our discussion, and saying this is what the whole pot has, and everybody got together, and this is what they all came out collaboratively with, that they all could live with.
Clerk, take the roll.
Well, would you,
we did that.
We did.
That's to the council.
Councilmember Kelly,
Abstain.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Crick,
Yes.
Councilmember Salver,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sacker,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes. Motion carries 8 yeses, 1 abstain. Next, B, ordinance O-20-02, an ordinance of the Township of Rockaway in the County of Morris, New Jersey, providing for the acquisition of computers and networking equipment for the Department of Information and Technology, including all structures, work, equipment, and materials necessary therefore or incidental thereto, from the Reserve for Information Technology Acquisitions and appropriating $100,000 therefore. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any public discussion? Any council discussion? Clerk, take the call.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Crick,
Yes.
Councilmember Salver,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, motion carries, 9 yeses. Next is CO-20-03, amending Article 51 and 52 of the Township of Rockaway Fire Department Rules and Regulations. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any public discussion? Any council discussion?
I have one question, that's here. Mrs. Seeger, on this C, the ordinance 20-03, which was a previous ordinance that we had, which was voided, because we're actually making the amendment, we had the introduction to it, now the adoption, which will now codify this and it will put it in place. Do we have any concerns?
Sorry.
Do we have any concerns of anything that had taken place from the meeting that was voided to where we're at now? Because we're now approving an ordinance that we originally approved to allow certain action to take place within the fire department. So is there any ratification, is there anything that we need to make sure to minimize any potential litigation or liability? Because we're kind of putting the cart before the horse now, even though the administration thought we were doing it correctly, and unfortunately it was an incorrect situation that we had, unfortunately. So
can you clarify that?
we have a deputy chief and a chief that are here now. And the main changes that were here were residency and radiuses and stuff like that. We've already had the actions, we've already had those individuals put in place, but now that we had a voided ordinance and then we didn't ratify it within the new year, within the same year, now we have to create a new ordinance, which we introduced, and now we're adopting. So is there any concern that we have, Mr. Yatrafano?
I think I'll let him answer that.
May I, Council President?
Yes, absolutely.
Mr. Kelly, to the extent that I understand your question, all ordinances that were on for passage or on for introduction at the September 24th, 2019 council meeting were reintroduced at the reorganizational meeting of the 7th of January. That was specifically designed to follow the literal language of Judge Minkowitz's opinion, which gave the township the ability to retroactively affirm and re-ratify all actions taken at the September 24th meeting. That is exactly what this represents. It was elected that all ordinances, whether introduced or passed, would be reintroduced at the reorganizational meeting. They were done that way, and now is the time for passage. That's what's on the agenda tonight. So, as I told you at the last meeting, we followed literally the program set by Judge Minkowitz. That's all I can tell you.
Mr. Yatrafano, I understand that, and I appreciate your answer. My concern was, well, an ordinance would have to have been passed within that year of when it was introduced. You can't have a passage of a 2019 ordinance in 2020. The question I was asking was, since there was action that took place from the fire department on January 1st of their installment, and now we are now adopting an ordinance after we've already done that, and since it was voided, I don't believe Judge Minkowitz or none of us knew at the time that we were going to do this within the new year rather than ratify everything within 2019 before the expiration of it. So that's just the question I have. So what you're saying is, if I'm hearing you correctly, is that even though we're introducing a new ordinance, we're not ratifying it, we're not reconsidering it, we're introducing it, and now we're adopting it tonight after the actions have taken place with the fire department. We're compliant.
Mr. Yatrafano, that's enough. I'm okay. Clerk, take the roll.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
No. 8 yeses, 1 no, motion carries. Next is DO-20-04, repealing Chapter 2, Financial Review Board of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Rockaway in its entirety. I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any public discussion? Any council discussion?
One quick thing, Council President.
Mhm.
Why are we repealing the Financial Review Board again? I am paying attention. Mr. Waters, please don't call out. Decorum, our ordinance. Anybody have a reason why we're taking this out? Council President?
I have no comment to make to you about it. Okay?
That's all.
Clerk,
Thank you.
take the roll.
Councilmember Kelly?
I object to this. This is wrong. No.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes. 8 yeses, 1 no, motion carries. EO-20-05, repealing Chapter 2, Environmental Commission of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Rockaway in their entirety. Any public discussion? Any council discussion? Clerk, take the roll. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Can we have a motion, please?
Motion.
Yeah, I forgot. Second? Who said, Adam? Okay, now, any, public discussion? Any council discussion?
Quick question, Council President. Same question as the Financial Review Board. Why are we eliminating the Environmental Commission?
I believe we're creating an environmental committee to replace the commission.
What's the difference between the two?
It was talked about at a previous meeting, so you could look up the minutes and you could find out the difference yourself.
I was asking you though, Council President. Are you
I don't
aware?
need to answer your questions.
Okay, no problem.
Okay?
Just
Take the roll.
remind yourself of your statement you made after number 6 on our agenda.
Take the roll, please.
Councilmember Kelly?
No.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Abstain.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes. We have, 7 yeses, 1 abstain, and 1 no. The motion carries. FO-20-06, ordinance amending Article 4, Chapter 2-5, Rules of Procedure, Meetings of the Council, subsection 2-5.4, Public Meetings of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Rockaway. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Any public discussion? Any council discussion?
Council President? If you know that you're going to be missing a meeting in the future, is it possible to vote by proxy or an abstention? Or is it just simply to be abstaining from that vote?
If you, explain again, so if you're gonna miss
Sure.
a meeting?
If we're going to be missing a meeting, is it possible, anything on the agenda, to vote by proxy or an abstention?
No.
Okay, thank you.
And one other question. So in B, it says the presence can be excused, provided a written request and approval by the other council members. Does excused mean that they are then considered as present if they are going to be attending by phone?
Yep.
Council President, to answer Councilman Chris's question, the formal excusal by the council, the effect of that is only so that the absence is excused absence, okay? It doesn't function to indicate that the member whose absence is excused is present.
So in essence, it would excuse them or put a break in, let's say, that a period of time.
Yeah, in other words, it would not be a countable meeting in terms
Clock
of
wouldn't start.
the 8 absences that are required under the statute.
Thank you.
Any other council discussion? Clerk, take the roll.
Councilmember Kelly?
Abstain.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 8 yeses, 1 abstain, motion carries. Next, number 9, open to the public. Did I miss something?
Can we remind everyone to turn their mics off?
Yeah, can everybody please turn their mics off if you're not speaking? Mr. Alardi?
Michael Lardy, 19 North Brookside Drive. I have quite a bit this evening for a change. Allison, you were right on with the bridge. She said mid-January, and they put the bridge in mid-January, so it's a good call on your part. And Pat Seagate, I emailed her regarding a tree that was rotting, and she was a quick response to that and got it to the right people and got back to me right away. I appreciate that. I bring up things to the town, the council, like 14 Cayuga I brought up over a period of time, which was addressed. And then last month, I think, or the month before, I mentioned that looks like it's being flipped again. New windows, new siding. Well, now no one's been there for a few weeks. There's a pile of garbage on the side of the house, no dumpster, no containment, and it's blowing around. So I was wondering if the township employees or the police, maybe they do this, and I'm unaware of it, But when they drive around the neighborhoods, look out for things like that and report them so they could be addressed, so it doesn't have to wait a month if I see it or another resident sees it to address it. Because then the garbage blows into the woods, and, you know, most people just ignore it. I try to pick it up and throw it in the garbage on garbage days, but, you know, I'm not a garbage man.
Can I just ask, Ms. Seeger, if somebody does, a citizen sees something like that, who should they call?
They can actually do it on the computer right away and just report it, or they can call town hall over to zoning, and we'll take care of it.
Yeah, and that's been done.
Go ahead,
I'm
I'm
just
sorry.
saying,
Yep,
if
no,
the
absolutely.
township employees in their travels, you know.
I just want everybody to hear that,
Right,
that's
okay.
watching and all,
Could
yeah.
pick that up,
Yep.
you know, and report that, that would be a benefit. And with the Smart 911 system, I know he said we're gonna have a meeting this week and on the weekend, but I think the only people who are really gonna know about that are the people here and the people watching. But maybe when we send out a quarterly bill, which would be before March, I would think, we can maybe include something in that and have a meeting at that time, and maybe go to the senior center and to set up something for them.
Okay.
In the past, the township has requested from White Meadow Lake use of the A-field for different programs. I just want to remind the township that the White Meadow Lake Board will need that request before that's approved. And we only meet once a month, so we don't want you to end up having to have a delay waiting for our meeting. So if that request could be sent to the board, they would appreciate that. At the reorg meeting, the committees were set, and I was kind of surprised not to see Tucker on the vehicle committee. I know it doesn't seem like everybody's on the same page, but to me, utilize people for their strengths, whether you get along with them or not, and get the biggest bang for your buck for the taxpayers.
So I'll address that, Mr. Lardy, because
Yes.
it's my appointment, right? So, my understanding, right, of what the Vehicle Review Committee is, it's not a vehicle purchase committee, it's not a vehicle approval committee, it's a review committee. So the township will go out and make recommendations or decide what vehicles they want to purchase. And the main role of the committee is to make sure that there's a budget for it, that they followed the approval process, that they've done all those things. So my understanding in talking to the people in town hall that do this, somebody on that committee necessarily having a mechanical knowledge isn't of great value, because they're not involved in the decision-making process of what vehicles to buy or do or whatever. The other piece of that is, you know, Mr. Kelly was on the Vehicle Review Committee, I think was the head person for a year and 9 months. There was not one meeting held with that committee to review anything. So I didn't feel it necessary to continue to have him on the committee.
Okay,
If I can respond to that, Councilman.
No, I wasn't talking, I was talking to Mr. Lardy.
thank you for that.
Go ahead.
Mr. Larry, that are open to the public that you can see.
Mr. Lardy, go ahead.
Photos and
Yep,
reports on vehicles
go
and
ahead.
purchases. So Mr. Jackson's in.
Yeah, right, of course.
My next comment, which I've mentioned casually in the past, is White Meadow Lake has about 2,500 homes, paying maybe an average of $9,000 per home in taxes, which is over $22 million. That's not taking into account the homes at a lakefront that pay up to $30,000 per home annually to to Rockaway Township. The members pay a lot of money to keep the lake in good quality, which in turn allows the township to attach such a high tax rate to those homes. However, to my knowledge, the township has not sent any of those tax dollars back to White Meadow Lake for any playground equipment for our children. The White Meadow Lake Athletics Committee will be bringing a motion to the Board of Directors soon to spend up to $40,000 to replace the playground equipment at the A-field. And I'm asking the township to consider contributing to that expense. Our tax dollars have gone to build all the other playgrounds in the township, but to my knowledge, never in White Meadow Lake. And I appreciate your consideration of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lardy. Ms. Prague? Did I pronounce it right? I'm sorry.
Hi, this is too.
Just tilt it down, maybe. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Sharon Craig at 115 Omaha Avenue. I have been having a problem with the water company for over a year. I had 1 month that it came back to what I usually pay. Last month, November, when I got my last water bill, they said I used 20,000 gallons of water a month, so I used 60,000 gallons of water. I would have had the biggest flood at my house. I had no problems with my house, and they changed the meter, and it came out right after the meter, and then I got a $459 bill, and I want to know how to fix it.
Okay.
Because that's too, and I've talked to Dave, I've asked to talk to the mayor for 4 months, he's never called me back. I wanted to set an appointment, they wouldn't let me set an appointment with him. I need to figure out how to get this fixed, because there's no way I use 20,000 gallons of water. I've lived here since 1995, and most of my water bills are under $30.
Yep,
We've
Ms.
been
Seeger?
at your house 5 times.
Right, and the water company said there was nothing wrong with it. But tell me, how do I go from a $28 water bill to a $459 bill? Because there's no way. I would have to have 20,000 gallons of water. It's like filling up 3 water pools.
We'll
You know-
discuss this with you again. This is not really the forum to do that.
Wait a minute, I've tried to discuss it with you guys, and nobody calls me back.
We called you back every time you
I
called.
know, but he's not helping me to appeal this. Do I need to get the newspaper involved to say, all right, how did my bill get so high? Maybe there was a problem with the town and the roads. Maybe it was a glitch in the system. But I've lived here since 1995, and if you look back, there are not many times that I went over $30.
Mr. Mayor?
We'll discuss this with you again. You can contact the administration again.
I would like to know how I appeal this.
Can't.
Mayor, I
You
could just throw something out there real quick.
You can't appeal this. You can't appeal it. You've been in contact with us. I know about your situation.
Well, why couldn't
We
you
ha-
call me back?
I did.
Administration
I
did call you
called
back.
you,
I want you to call
I
me back.
called you on his
I
behalf.
had our business,
Hey,
I had our business administrator call you back,
And I
and the
wanted to
experts,
talk to
and the
you.
experts, and you would receive the same answer that
All
you're
right,
receiving
so
right now.
now who do I follow this through? Because that's ridiculous. I have no $459 water bill. I can't afford it. I can't afford $45 a month unless I want to give up eating and then die because you won't let me eat.
Ma'am, call us again.
Call us
We'll
again.
be glad that this is not the forum to discuss this, a personal matter. Call us again, and we'll discuss it with you again.
I suggest call Ms. Seeger tomorrow. Will you be in?
Sure,
Yeah,
yes.
Call tomorrow and set an appointment, and I'm sure they'll be more than willing to help you.
Okay, my second thing is I live in White Meadow Lake, and we had that pervert with the cameras in White Meadow Lake. We never hear anything about it. We don't even know how long he's been doing that. Do we have a right as a citizen of White Meadow Lake that we might be on that camera?
That's a law
It's a
enforcement issue.
police matter, yeah.
Please, madam.
Okay, but when you ask the police, they say, I don't know. Does anybody know about what's happening on that?
I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, another question. We cut from senior citizens a lot of times, okay? We cut from seniors who have been paying for schools for a long, long time. You have a senior citizen that wants to go shopping or go food shopping or just needs to get somewhere. I would rather see those senior citizens on buses than driving a car so they don't cause an accident. We need to do more for seniors.
Right, so we have dial-a-ride service that.
Right, they
seniors
give you a hard time.
Well, I haven't experienced that. I think, there's a process they could go through and call Recreation, I believe, and sign up for Dial-A-Ride. And if you have a challenge with getting signed up for Dial-A-Ride, you can certainly probably call Miss Seeger and she'll help you.
Does anybody know who I can appeal the water problem to? Because you're giving me a heart attack. And don't say Mrs. Siegel, because I've talked to her.
Mr. Jackson, if I may, just to be simple.
Go ahead.
Mr. Garabrandt, I've been on some jobs where we were doing some replacement of lines and whatnot, and even over in the Berry Street area, we had one where it was thought to be inside of the home, in between your testers for sound and for vibration and noise. Have we done that to this particular property?
Do you want him to answer that?
It's on?
No.
Yeah, we've been there.
Gene, this is not the forum, guys. This is not, this is.
You answer Mr. Gallardi's
Listen,
question,
listen.
you're not gonna answer hers?
Absolutely, we're gonna answer her. She can contact the
His
administration.
questions were answered here, right now.
She can contact the administration.
How should I? I've already called for 4 months.
and we were responsive.
No, you weren't. You called me back and said.
Thank you.
It was our problem. It was my problem.
Okay. Ms. Stegman?
But you treat people like shit.
You're gonna cater to one, Mr. Jackson.
Pat
Not
Degnan,
catered to anybody.
88
Be
Valley
quiet.
View Drive. I have two things that I want to discuss tonight. One has to do with the bond ordinance that was passed tonight. The number $200,000 for the basketball courts has been coming up for over a year. I believe that there's one council person that has cost this town more than that $200,000 in legal fees. Yet, we can't get a decent basketball court for our children. We have a lot more children than one council person. And I think it's time we stopped fighting over this is an estimated amount. When they get the correct figures, if you don't like the figures that you've gotten, then you vote no for it. But we have to have some money to start this project with. It's been almost 2 years, if not more than 2 years. I don't have any children that would take advantage of the basketball courts at this point, because they're all grown. But I know in my neighborhood, there are a heck of a lot of young kids who like to play basketball.
Thanks, Ms. Stegman. Emily Coleman?
Emily Coleman, 18 Lakeshore Drive. Just really quick, I walk around the lake every day, and in the days that the neighbor news is out, I spend like half my time picking up the newspapers and the plastic bags. So I was just wondering, can we do something about that? Can we tell them like not to do that? Is that like, is
Do you
it
have any
legal that they're
ordinances
just like,
around that or anything about throwing newspapers? No?
they can, because they're everywhere. It's
Yeah.
really horrible. It's horrible for the environment. But you haven't gotten, I probably threw it
Yeah,
out.
they threw it, they started throwing them, put them in the plastic bags and throwing them in your
Throw 'em all
driveway now.
over. And then it's windy and.
Any other members of the public want to speak? Okay, I'm going to close the, open to the public session. Next, we have ordinances to introduce. Number 10, ordinance O-20-07, an ordinance fixing the salaries of various officials and contractual employees of the Township of Rockaway in the County of Morris. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Clerk, take the roll.
Discussion?
Councilmember Kelly?
Discussion. Sorry,
We're gonna have discussion on it, what we not
Sure.
before?
just for introduction. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry. Any council discussion?
No, there should,
The other way around.
there's no discussion
Oh,
on introduction.
yeah, that's why,
Full.
that's what I was saying, take the roll call.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay,
No, he had mentioned discussion.
Oh.
You weren't listening. You're saying,
yeah.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander?
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Abstain. 2 abstentions, 7 yeses, motion carries. B, O-20-08, an ordinance fixing the oh, wait, I'm reading the same one, I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, yeah, no, that's 08, an ordinance fixing the salaries of various officials and exempt employees in the Township of Rockaway in the County of Morris. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
No discussion? Can you take the roll call?
Councilmember Kelly?
abstain.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander?
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
No.
President Jackson?
Abstain. We have 6 yeses, 2 abstentions, and 1 no. Motion carries. Next is our consent agenda. I can just read off all of them. Yeah. A, R-20-30, B, R-20-31, C, R-20-32, D, R-20-33, E, R-20-34, F, R-20-35, G, R-20-36, H, R-20-37, I, R-20-38, J, R-20-39, K, R-20-40, L, R-20-41, M, R-20-42, N, R-20-43, O, R-20-44, P, R-20-45, R, R-20-46, R, R-20-47, S, R-20-48, T, R-20-49. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
No discussion is required. Clerk, take the roll.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salver?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes. 9 yeses, motion carries. Next are appointments. We have 2 council appointments, one for firefighter Jonathan Jacoby and another for EMS Amanda Risberg. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Take the roll.
For both A and B?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salver?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes. 9 yeses, motion carries. Are either one of them here tonight? Okay. B, are mayor's appointments.
Yep, I wanted to appoint, it's for the Library Board of Trustees. It's an unexpired 5-year term. It ends on 12/31 of 2021, and that would be for Emily Coleman. I wanted to appoint her to that position.
Excellent. There's nothing we gotta do. Congratulations. Next, you want to read through 13, Mayor, or do you want me to? Yeah, 13, motion to appoint Christina Clipperton, Township Clerk, as Secretary to the Board of Health. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Discussion on that, Council President? Real quick?
We gotta get the
Sure, I'm sorry.
motion.
Yep, sorry.
Yep.
Second.
Second. You can make a motion to have discussion. Does anybody want a second?
This isn't a consecutive, consent agenda or anything like that. Just a quick question that we have on here, Council President. Just ask if there's any stipend or any monies that's going to be paid.
No.
Thank you for
Take a
allowing
vote.
an easy question.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salver?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes. 9 yeses, motion carries. Congratulations. Number 14, old business. Does anybody have any old business?
I have a
Mr.
couple,
Kelly?
Council President. One of old business, we had spoken a couple of times throughout the last 3 years with regards to Wawa. I was over in Randolph. I had seen the site over there. They're moving along. And I was wondering if we've had any further advancement with the Wawa. Any monies that's been in escrow? Have you collected anything?
Okay.
Council President, lawyers working for Varikia, who's the development company in charge of the Wawa project, are in the process of discussing approaches to the project with our planner, Dave Novak. That process was offered by the administration some time ago. We did not hear back from Ricky's lawyer for an extended period of time, but within the last 30 days, I was advised by Ricky's attorney that they were willing to pursue the approach module or protocol dictated by the administration. My understanding is they're in discussions with our planner, who of course is going to report back to our engineer and the administration and myself, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Mr. Yatrofano, I thought when we had spoken last that we were going to have monies collected in escrow so that when we have these discussions with the Versace Group and our professionals, that the cost was going to be passed along to the developer. So, I mean, my question was, do we have anything in escrow now to offset those costs for the participation of our professionals working with the developer?
It's just a very simple discussion with our planner, Mr. Kelly, based upon a template that we've already provided to Ricky's attorney. If and when we reach the point where we come to an agreement as to an approach plan for the project, that's when escrows will be assessed and hopefully paid.
My next mention of old business is, Ms. Seeger, the council received your reports on Sunday, on the 26th, with regards to our monthly reports for December. And it appears that the monthly report was completed on the 7th of January, and we got it 3 weeks later. But we're reviewing it as far as our current fund revenue, going down on the last line. I don't know if you have it. Do you have it at all by chance? No?
Do not have it with me.
I'll just read it. We have the mall agreement, public safety services. We have an adopted budget of $362,500, and year to date that's been realized is only $315,000, where we're owed $47,500, and we're at an 87% collection on that. Now, during the holidays, there were some people that had come to me about the lack of police presence that they had thought. I know the county has done their police presence in the mall. But going through with our agreement that we had, that took place on the 20th of May of 2014, it seems that our contract with the mall for security has expired as of July 1st of 2019. So we have an anticipated collection of this $47,000. We only received $315,000. And each year of that contract, which has commenced originally on July 1, 2014, for $395,000, and through its 5-year period of the contract, it dwindles down to $360,000, reducing it to $95,000 over the 5-year period of collection. Where are we at now at the mall?
We are in negotiations, and I'm not at liberty to speak about them at this time.
Are we in contract with them now?
As you said, the contract ended when you said it ended, and we are in negotiations, and that's all I can say.
So we're not going to, I mean, we have it here in our...
She just said that's all she's going to say.
I understand that
I don't know why
on the
you're droning
contract.
on. I don't know why
Thank
you're
you.
droning on.
But we have
Is
here
this
for
old
the
business?
balance remaining, are we still anticipating the $47,000, or are you just gonna listen to Puzio saying don't answer? You have it in
It's
your report.
unbelievable.
Mr. Kelly
Unbelievable.
did
Just move
answer,
on.
gave you an answer.
Anybody else have old business?
I'm not done yet.
You're done.
No, I'm
You're
not.
done. You're not
I'm not.
recognizing
You're gonna have
anymore.
another
You're done.
lawsuit, Mr. Jackson, if you don't.
Oh,
You're gonna have
that'd
to
be
allow me
very
to participate in this
Very
meeting.
unusual for you
Whether
to
you
sue
like
the
it or not.
township. Very unusual.
You're gonna have me
to sue the
participate
township.
in it, whether you like it or not.
You're participating, but to a limit. You're droning on.
You don't have an
She
ordinance
said she
on it.
has no
That's
more to
fine. I'm
say.
moving on to the next order of business. I'm going on my next portion of old
Okay,
business.
well, how many old business do you have?
Does it matter?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Waters. We had over here on number 13 for the motion to appoint Christina Clipperton for the clerk. Old business, we had also questioned about, there are 2 clerks that now have received their certification for RMC. Mrs. Clipperton received it within a year, and is also as our assistant clerk that we have. In the past, Mayor Puzio, you have given another clerk an increase to their salary.
You ask this question every meeting.
I don't get an answer.
You're not gonna get another answer, I would
Well,
assume, so.
Are you answering for the mayor, Mr. Jackson?
It's a personnel issue.
Yeah, you're not gonna get, he says the
Well,
same
you
thing
put it on
every week.
Facebook last time,
He
so how
says
much
it every
personnel
month.
could it be?
It's un-
The last thing is, of old business, is that we had, court records that were given to an individual. And I just want to know if with that old business of those court records, have we received those court records back?
We don't know what you're talking about.
Well, Mayor Puzio, Mr. Cesara had taken our court records when you had promised him the municipal prosecutor position.
Mr. Kelly.
Have we got those court records back?
This is a matter for the court. The court would take care of that.
No other old business.
Okay, new business.
Definitely not.
And does any other council member have actual old business of value? No?
Losing
Any new
$360,000 is actual
Any new
business,
business?
Mr. Jackson.
Any new business? Let's go to, council reports.
I do have new business. One thing.
Okay.
On Meriden Road, Mrs. Ferrante, there's been a repairing, or I don't know, something that's new, where on Meriden they're increasing the embankment or the shoulder area of sections of Meriden Road. I'm sorry, Ms. Seeger, I can't hear you.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. On that area, is that something we're continuing throughout Meriden Road?
I believe, Ally, you wanna speak on that?
So the road department is extending the shoulder of Meriden Road to prevent the edge of the road from creeping back into the swamp alongside Meriden Road. We have been in talk with DEP, and we're ceasing what we are doing, and we're moving some of the fill in as per DEP's discussion. But what we're doing is, that's the extent of it.
But the mulch itself not being a compatible base, is that something that the DEP recommended or allowed for us to put in the shoulder area? It seems that the height of it's so high now into the trunk line of the trees, that's what kills the tree, and I didn't know how much higher or further back we were gonna go.
The mulch has been placed there to stop erosion for
Okay.
control, that's all.
Thank you. That's it for new business on me.
Thank you. Council reports. We'll start with you, Mr. Quinn.
Yes, the planning board did its reorganization, and we're moving forward. Senior Services had its, another trip today. They expanded the program to include the, now Rockaway Town Square Mall, AMCs. So anybody that is with Senior Services or with OTC, kids with disabilities, can go to the mall. They had a great trip. They offered a nice array of movies to go to, and it was well attended. There was 12 people that attended. They raved about it. I'm very happy with administration and the Senior Services for doing this, and it's working out beautifully. I have people calling me up all the time now, asking me when the next thing is going to happen. And Veronica is pushing out more information starting this week on the February program. So anybody who's interested that's out there, please call Recreation Senior Services. You'll get more information from Veronica and administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Friedlander?
Yeah, a couple things.
Mr. Quinn, can you turn off your microphone, please? Thank you.
Just want to remind people, I'm going to do this every month, the Substance Abuse Alliance. It's planned April 29th at the Barn. It's a major fundraiser. They increased the percentage. They're going to give 15% of everybody's food bill from 6:30 till 10. Great band's going to be there. And just mark it on your calendar, April 29th. Second, want to thank administration, Pat, and Brian. They had the meeting with the library board president and the director, Scott, up at the Hibernia branch. They went over every issue from bottom to top, and the air quality is deemed acceptable, and just waiting for the library board to officially open it up. And third, just want to mention that the Sewer Assessment Committee met for the second time. All the committee members had a tour of the Bellevue section, and it's continuing at a nice pace. That's it.
Mr. Sauber?
Last Wednesday, I had an opportunity to attend the freeholders meeting, accompanied by Councilman Quinn, since I've been appointed as liaison. Had an opportunity to meet all the freeholders, their administrators and support staff. There was a very positive meeting to go through. In February, there's going to be a series of meetings coming up with them, which I think we'll get a better understanding of their major expenditures, see how it's going to affect us, their properties and roads that they're responsible for, and of course, just want to be there to make sure that the township's needs are heard by the freeholders.
Thank you. Ms. New?
The only thing I have this evening is being approached again about Perry Street, speeders for the police chief. And otherwise, no report.
Okay. Mr. Brooks?
Thank you. One of the things in the resolution today in the consent agenda was for the declaring June 6th to be 2020 Rockaway Township Day. So I wanted everyone to know that when we jumble things into, sometimes we don't get that information out there. So I wanted everyone to know that. Secondly, I was contacted about a light pole with the light out over by Fox Hills on the way to Route 80. So I did notify who needed that to be done. So hopefully that'll be fixed soon. And the other thing is that for those involved with baseball, the baseball program has changed to a different to Cal Ripken baseball, which is great. And the sign-ups now for Little League or Cal Ripken, I got to put money in the jar now, is also going to be combined with Babe Ruth this year. So anyone that's interested in playing baseball can all go to one website, which is the RT Baseball website, and you can sign up through there.
Thank you. Mr. Kritz?
Actually, to kind of follow up on what Mr. Brooks was saying, there's a lot of different spring sports that are taking signups now: lacrosse, softball, baseball, track. For those of you with young kids and soccer. Thank you. With young kids or grandchildren, please consider volunteering. So these leagues are all volunteer run, and they cannot operate without you. So many people up here, given our time, and it certainly it pays dividends. But again, these sports leagues don't function without volunteers. So please consider volunteering. The second thing I had the pleasure today to visit the third grade class at Dwyer, and was invited by Mrs. Massaro, and it was very interesting to see those. The kids were very engaged. They asked very good questions. You could see that they prepared well. So I wanted to thank Dwyer for that invite.
And just to piggyback, I believe to be a volunteer, you have to take the Rucker Safety class, and I believe we're conducting one in March. I think there's going to be another Rucker Safety class. We'll put that on the website. I am. Mr. Kelly?
Thank you. I have a couple things to report. One, this is something I don't like to report, and I'm just spinning off on Mr. Freelander, and I hope that we can maybe work with Sheriff Gannon. I know I've asked a couple of times with Hope One and the programs that Sheriff Gannon has brought to the county. But we've lost two young individuals in the first 3 weeks of January to overdose. One was again on Friday night to Saturday. Somebody that I knew the parents very well, and both children, I say children, just 20 years younger than me. It's a shame. It's just, it's a bad thing. It's an epidemic. We need to do something about it. I don't think that we should just limit ourselves only to a couple of programs. I think if there's anything out there that we can reach to, and we do have that common connection with some of these great officials and leaders, that we can maybe get something going more so than we have so far. I know that we're doing stuff and it's in baby steps, but Hope One has been really responsive to a lot of stuff that's going on here and changed people's lives for the positive. And I think we should contact Sheriff Gannon immediately for what had just happened, and hopefully we can minimize and save a life. The next thing is I wanted to recognize Mr. Noth. Great job with the snow. Ewing, in collaboration with the county, did a phenomenal job, not only in the northern area, but when it snows, I'm working in all areas of different municipalities. And throughout Rockaway, it was a phenomenal job, as well as the county roads were doing the same. Also to report that JCP&L had very minimal power outages through the last couple of storms, the windstorms and rain, as well as the snow. So they did a phenomenal job as well, and trying to keep the power going, and those that lost power to provide it back in service pretty quickly. One thing I'd like to respond to, though, is the Vehicle Review Committee. And when I was on the Vehicle Review Committee, the way that I had interpreted it was, even though we're making purchases, the need of the purchase was also something that was important to me. So if the vehicle that they're trying to replace wasn't something that needed to be replaced, that's where maybe my expertise, unlike Mr. Jackson's, comes into play. And we did have some vehicles. Mr. Noth was very considerate and allowing me to go up there and look at the vehicles, going through some road tests and doing some other inspections and whatnot on those vehicles. We did try to have several meetings with Mr. Sheard, and there are emails to document that over a course of time. Unfortunately, that never came to fruition on that behalf. The other thing was, Mrs. Degman, though I do appreciate when you come up and make your comments, the amount of cost for legal, that's inaccurate what you have that you had stated. But when we were looking at the basketball courts, the original cost for the basketball courts that we got from Keller Kirkpatrick was $400,000. And again, making some comparisons to other basketball courts in the neighboring towns, some that invest a lot of money into their courts, they spend 25% of that money and got themselves a diamond or a gem. So that's the way we're looking at it. It wasn't a matter of just fighting over it, just to fight over it. We were trying to be somewhat being fiscally responsible when it comes to that. So that's how I was looking at it, rather than the way you're thinking. And the last thing is the library in Hibernia. How are we making out with the septic tank over there?
This is a report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Waters, for continuing interrupting from the audience. The report, or the information is that the Hibernia septic tank is in somewhat need of repair, or there's some issues that are there. And I was wondering if we're going to look into that, or maybe perhaps see if there's any repair or replacement that we need to do.
I think you should send me an email and I'll let you know.
Thank you. You can't answer me though here?
Yeah, I've requested numerous times from everyone on the council, all 9 council members, to send us emails, contact Ms. Seeger, to let us know so we can have information for you, to not surprise us at meetings where we're doing business. I'm not going to go through this anymore. It's not going to be a tug of war for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, as long as I'm here, because I'm the guy who's let go of the rope. So now you can, you know how you push and pull? I've let go of the rope. So people can follow the protocol so it's efficient and effective or not, and I'm not going to be responding.
No, Mr. Puzzi, I'm just going by what you said before. You know, you tell people to make a call, you tell other people to make an email. You know, I think it doesn't make a difference. You know what I'm asking, and you can respond to it accordingly. But that's all I have in my report. Thank you.
Mr. Sackett, Vice President Sackett.
Just wanted to take a moment to thank everyone who reached out to me, who called me, who emailed me, who texted me, sent me a Facebook message, who sent a meal, who sent a card, who attended Shiva, who visited me during visiting hours, who visited my dad in the hospital, who rushed to the hospital in my darkest hour, and attended my dad's funeral. It meant so much to me and the whole Sackett family. Thank you for all the support. I miss my dad tremendously, but I'm so thankful to have you all my life. Thank you.
So I'm going to do my report now. I want to address a few things that were stated last week by Mr. Kelly and just follow up on some things. This isn't about liking or disliking anybody. I don't have any dislike or like particularly for anybody on the council. But I do feel that people need to be treated with respect. I don't feel that people need to, and again, I'm being interrupted, not being respected. Typical of Mr. Kelly, he's, interrogates people, interrupts people. I try to respect everybody. If you treat me with respect, I'll treat you with respect. If you treat others around you with respect, I'll treat you with respect. You just heard Mr. Kelly, Ms. Stegman, the number might not be right, but you just heard Mr. Kelly threaten to sue me. It's typical. I believe I read an article that there's 11 lawsuits where he's the plaintiff against the township. Costs money. Recently, and he does little things. The statement he made at the last meeting around a citizenship question about a planning board member. That involved us having our attorney review, getting the planning board attorney to do a research and look up that person, and it determined they were a citizen. It was never in question, but he just makes blanket statements that cost all of us money, thousands and thousands of dollars. So while he makes a statement that he donates his money to the library, his salary, he's costing us a lot more than that. He just filed a motion for reconsideration on a lawsuit. That caused us to get our attorney to review it. That caused us to get our bond attorney to review it because the bond is in that ordinance. These are things that people need to hear about and understand. So he can sit there and question and interrogate and interrupt. He's costing us money with everything he does. Last year, he filed over 20 Oprah requests. That cost us money. So we have to stop. Everybody up here, for the most part, is looking to move forward and do what's right for Rockaway Township. That's it. That's what I want to do. That's what most of us up here want to do. Move forward and do what's right for Rockaway Township. Not interrogate or try to discredit the people sitting over there, because they're working hard for us every day. I personally, one of the things Mayor Puzzi just said, I had questions about some of the things in the packet I received. I reached out to Ms. Seeger. She responded. There's no need to do some of the things that are occurring here. We need to move forward as a council, as an administration, as a township, and just work together and not be confrontational about everything. That's all I'm asking. So with that, Mayor, do you have any report?
I just want to touch on the issue that Councilman Kelly brought up.
Can you?
I just want to touch on the issue that Councilman Kelly brought up about addiction. Over the past year, I don't know if he's aware, but we have been working with Hope One with the Sheriff's Office. They've been in the town in our location numerous times with the Hope One vehicle. We've posted it on Facebook. It's been advertised. I have have had a meeting with St. Clair's over the past year. They have a walk-in addiction treatment facility. We are partnering with CARES right now with the Sheriff's Office where they're involved. And I'll let our health officer talk about that initiative a little bit. I don't know if everybody's aware of all these things that are going on. We have Les Wexler with the Rockaway Township Substance Abuse Alliance, of which when I was a councilman, I was one of the representatives. I've been attending the functions for years. So we are utilizing all of the resources at our disposal. We're not just utilizing one or two. We're utilizing all of them in concert in hopes that we can help people that are out there that are addicted. I would like to speak about a program that we have in town as well. It's a Challenger program. It's a Rockaway Township PAL Challenger program. I don't feel that it gets enough traction. A lot of the people on there who run the program are very humble, and they just work behind the scenes, and they're not looking for any sort of self-aggrandizement. But I go to some of the events, and my son is involved in some of the events that take place. And I told him this weekend I was at basketball, I said, we have to start marketing ourselves a little bit better. We have to start putting out flyers. Some of the coaches, some of the people there have been there a long time. They're getting close to retiring, and I want to see this program do well. So if you can, there's some flyers that I put out on the table over there. Grab one, take a look at it, share it with your friends, use the grapevine way of communication to spread it through the neighborhood that there is a Challenger program for children with special needs. I want to give a shout out to the police department. I went to an event on Friday at the barn. The Rockaway Township PBA put on a fundraiser for New Jersey Special Olympics, and I think there was about 70, 75 people who attended. They had food, they had beverage. It was a great time, a lot of good commiserating between the cops. Some cops from other towns came, and at the end of the night, what was important is that they raised money for our special athletes. That's going to benefit them in the games in the summertime. And that's about it.
Thank you. Township Attorney?
Thank you, Council President. First, just to advise the council, we've now had 2 meetings of the Board of Assessment Commissioners, chaired by Mr. Waters. We are in the process of scheduling a 3rd meeting, getting together some documents. We will probably schedule a 3rd meeting sometime in later February to proceed with the hearing process and just to keep you advised of the status of that matter. We're also, my partner Carl and I are also in the process of some significant ordinance revisions, which were overdue, primarily because of the levels of controversy of the past 2 years. But Mr. Quinn, as chair of the Ordinance Committee, has been very patient, and he and I have been interacting regularly. We hope to have at least 2 of these ordinances to Mr. Quinn for consideration by his committee, probably by the end of the 2nd week in February, and we'll go from there with the rest of them. Other than that, that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Ms. Seeger?
Thank you. I'd like to thank the council for their support, and Mr. Jackson. The staff does work very hard, and we appreciate the questions ahead of time, that we'll take the time to answer them properly. If I don't know them, I make sure someone provides the answer to you. We are on target for our budget to give you your budget in the beginning of February, so you can look it up. And Mr. Jackson and Ms. Clipperton, I think, advertised the dates already for our budget meetings, and we can't wait. Thank you.
Excellent. Mrs. Ferrante?
Yes, as Mr. Alardi indicated, the structures at the bridge were delivered later last week, and hopefully in a couple of weeks they'll have that roadway buttoned up. It's not going to be final stabilization, and it's weather dependent, so if you do see their equipment pull out, don't worry, they will come back and they will finalize. They do know that we have the summer concert series right on their heels, so we will put the pressure on them to make sure that they have final stabilization. Besides that, the hotel along Green Pond is well under construction. I'm sure that you guys driven past it many times.
4th floor.
Just had a conversation with them. They're targeting Christmas time. So it's still going to be under construction for quite a few more months. It's going to have 106 rooms with an indoor pool, an indoor fitness center.
Nice.
I believe it's Marriott. I think they're finally settled on Marriott.
Thank you. Mr. Tabbitt?
Thank you, Council President. Just a quick word to follow up on the mayor's comments. We obviously take opioids and substance abuse and addiction very seriously, collectively. And one of our full-time public health nurses, Angela Skokandich, is working on an initiative that the mayor did reference to bring Narcan training to residents and to officials in the township. So we expect to have information on that offering soon. So between direct services to residents like Hope One, which we're very happy to see the presence here in town, and the contract towns that the Division of Health serves, we also intend to bring health promotion programs and those direct services more and more to the community. Also just wanted to mention quickly, we did give 402 free rabies shots at our rabies clinics recently. I use that as a segue to remind residents that we have over 4,000 licensed dogs and cats in town. January 31st is the deadline for licensure without any late considerations or penalties. We offer essentially at least a 4-month grace period before summonses are even considered. So just a reminder to residents, if they have not yet, to please license their dogs and cats. Our environmental health staff has been working very hard lately, and we're generating our annual report, which is due to the state February 15th. So I'll look forward to the first meeting of the Township Board of Health sometime, I assume, in the late spring or at the council's pleasure, so we can discuss some of those numbers and activities. And just one word about syringe disposal. We've had a couple of incidents where residents have disposed of syringes with recyclables in the last month, 2 incidents in the last month alone, and it's obviously a very serious thing, and we've used our emergency response staff to take care of those issues. But there's information that we're making available on the township website and also in the next quarterly newsletter, which should be out in a few days for the public, just for instructions, because St. Clair's Hospital, the Morristown Medical Center, are available to receive syringes, if provided that they're in safe containers like a detergent bottle or a like container, like an acceptable Sharps container. So just a reminder to residents that there's only certain ways those can be disposed, and we can provide information from the Division of Health. And finally, most, if not maybe everyone here is familiar with the coronavirus. Just to advise, we're following that very closely. I receive updates from the state at least twice a day. There's 5 confirmed cases in the United States right now. The issue is generally in the city of Wuhan, China, which some may know, but we're watching it very closely should there be additional U.S. cases. There's 73 people in the country that are still pending results, but New Jersey right now, the official word from CDC and the State Health Department is New Jersey is not subject to issues at the moment. So that's all I have, Council President.
Thank you. Mr. Dyer?
Council President, thanks as well for the kind words, but nothing to report tonight.
Thank you. Chief McParland?
Mr. President, I'd like to bring to your attention in regards to the opioid crisis. We had, since our last meeting, 3 saves, the deployment in Narcan. I'd like to commend Officers Hospitalis, Halfley, and Jordan Matos for their response on January 15th, where they responded to a report of a 27-year-old female who was unconscious. Through their efforts and deployment in Narcan, they were able to revive her and get her down to the hospital for the proper treatment. I'd also like to bring your attention to the actions of Officer Albert and Parks, who on the 18th responded to a report of an unresponsive 26-year-old male in an auto by pole 60 in the mall. On their response, they discovered that he had shallow breathing. Through their rescue efforts, they were able to revive him and turn him over once again to St. Clair BLS, where they transported him to the hospital for further treatment, once again saving his life. Furthermore, I'd like to commend Officers Daniels and Gauthier, who on the 20th of January responded to a 29-year-old male that collapsed in front of the target. On their arrival, he was not breathing and foaming at the mouth. The officers once again deployed Narcan, and through their first aid efforts, they were able to revive him and once again get him to the proper emergency room where he was went into detox. So that's 3 saves that the police department has had since our last council meeting.
That's great.
I'd like to commend those officers.
Awesome.
And also, as the mayor stated, in regards to the Challenger Basketball League, their next practice and game will be this Saturday, February 1st, at the Stony Brook Gym. Game starts at 10 a.m. and continues till about 12 o'clock noon. And the public and everyone's welcome to participate and cheer on the Challengers. That's the end of my report.
Thanks, Chief. Mr. Knott?
When the Department of Public Works, when it's snowing, we're plowing snow. In between then, we've been taking care of some drainage issues. We've been trying to do some basin repairs while the weather is good and get some stuff cleaned up around town, trying to stay ahead of the schedule. I hand over to Superintendent Garabrandt, who's been, needless to say, pretty busy the last 2 days.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just a few things. We got a lot of stuff coming up this year. I believe we're getting ready to finalize our long overdue well 10 bid specs. I'm looking to get together with administration hopefully next week to go over those papers and get that approved. Also, we met with some contractors and had the Low Erie tank inspected. We talked about that the last couple of years, that needs to be rehabbed desperately. So hopefully in 2020 we can, pull that together and get that project underway also. And then for those that don't know, the county is planning on paving Mount Hope Avenue. I believe from Mount Hope Road as far as Mount Pleasant.
Wow.
So we have started an inspection process to inspect all the manholes along that route from Dwyer School to Route 80, so that we can get those all repaired and up to snuff, so that when the county does pave, we don't have to worry about opening the roads and so on and so forth. We have had a couple of mishaps here the last couple of days, but my guys have pulled it together and, got everybody back on track and the water turned back on in a reasonable amount of time. So, knock on wood, that'll be the end of them.
Thanks, Mr.
Well
Cartwright.
7 still good too?
Well 7 is good. 7A, not so good, but we still need to discuss that.
Thank you.
Okay?
Mr. Coward?
Thanks, Council President. Just wanted to thank everyone on the council for the support of Rockaway Day. We're looking forward to that event this year. We have the balls rolling on summer camp and the Easter program as well coming up in the next few months. We'll be sure to communicate about those very, very shortly, but for tonight, nothing else to report.
Excellent. Mr. Heitzman?
Thank you, Council President. Fire Prevention Bureau submitted their year-end report to the Division of Fire Safety on time. Our fire inspection personnel are actively in our community inspecting the businesses, and our fire department members are doing their annual testing and recertification of their skills. Thank you.
Mr. Swan?
Thank you, Council President.
Yes.
Not a lot going on with the parks right now. We are bringing all of our equipment inside and doing repairs and preventive maintenance. When needed, we are assisting in buildings and grounds. And when it snows, we are taking care of all the sidewalks and the Park Lake walking path.
Great. Thank you. Is that everybody? Did I hit everybody?
And you do a great job, Mr. Swanton, too, by the way. When I say that, I mean both of the departments, Recreation and DPW.
Okay, with that, can I have a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Yo.
Aye.